Okay, everybody. Thank you for coming to our talk this afternoon. My name is James Burk. We're going to talk about one of my favorite projects, Marspedia. Marspedia is an online encyclopedia that the Mars Society helps out with, kind of taking the lead role. And with me today is Frank Crossman. And Frank and I are both longtime members of the Mars Society. I'm the IT director, Frank's the chief archivist, and we've worked together before Marspedia, but I think we both kind of found a really good project we both can sink our teeth into. So Marspedia is, like I mentioned, an online encyclopedia. It's run by volunteers, and all of our content is free and public domain. And the intent for that is for the content to be able to be shared easily and widely. And Marspedia started out in 2007. It was originally founded by another organization called the Moon Society. They started up a couple different wikis at that time. Marspedia was one of them. They also started up Lunarpedia. And we were getting lots of emails over the years saying, hey, from volunteers, I'd like to help out with Marspedia, and we would have to say, well, that's not us, even though we're the Mars Society. It's this other organization. So eventually, we just reached out to them and decided to partner up and help each other out. And so now the Mars Society is kind of taking a lead role, although we still coordinate with both the Moon Society and with Bruce McKenzie and his Mars Foundation on this project. And we see it as a great project for volunteers to get something that really will, to get experience with something that will really help them with their careers. We're really interested in helping young people that are wanting to study science journalism or just want to work on a Mars-related project and don't have, engineering or scientific degrees, but just want to help out with something. Editing articles and reviewing articles is a great thing that anyone could do to help out with this project. We also see Marspedia as a great resource for chapters and for projects for the space advocacy groups. Because of the fact that anyone can get a free account and put content up on Marspedia and put images up, you can actually use it for projects for all, if you're collaborating with documents, collaborating with other people on a document, or you need a place to store important information. Marspedia is a great place for that. We're trying to have it be a big umbrella that a lot of people can use it for. Go ahead, next slide. So one of the first things that we worked on when we started partnering up on Marspedia 3 years ago was the categories. We wanted to make sure that the information architecture of the site was well thought out and reflected what we see as the future of Mars. And so not just sort of the who, what, why, where, how about Mars today, but also the concepts in the future, including human settlement. So we decided to come up with a hierarchy of categories. And we ended up with over 100 categories, but they all roll up into these 6 top level ones. And as you can see on this diagram, only the first 2 really were covered by other sources comprehensively. So if you go out to Wikipedia or some of the other online encyclopedias, you can find a lot of information about Mars, planetary science, and past missions. But I think where the Mars Society really shines is our ability to talk about the rest of that, to talk about what the future human exploration will look like and plans and concepts for permanent bases and all the things we've been thinking about for the last 23 years that the Mars Society has been around. The sort of civilization and culture and philosophical and ethical aspects of going to Mars and living on Mars, we've thought out more than anyone. And so we wanted that to be reflected in the categories. And category 5 is really a great one because you could hang a lot of content from our organization, just about our organization and about other space advocacy groups. And so that's a great place to use for just general purpose, you know, general purpose bucket for projects and for things that you don't want people to forget about the organization you volunteer for. So, and then finally, Mars Arts and Literature, you know, we've done some comprehensive lists of all the different books that are ever written about Mars and films about Mars. One area we want to work on is Mars artwork and have some type of gallery inside of Marspedia for that. So, so that, you know, as you can see, there's a really comprehensive way to organize all the aspects of Mars. And we're really proud of this category hierarchy. We spent quite a bit of time discussing this and finalizing this when we first started working on the project. Next slide. So what we'd like to do now, and we've done this for the last 3 years at the Mars Society Conference, is give you a progress report. So how did we do this year on Marspedia? And there's some key metrics that we like to report on. How many articles are on the site? So we've added 73 in the last year. And I should mention, out of those almost 700 articles, we've also done a pass on them all in the last 3 years. We've made sure that every article is accurate, is categorized correctly, and is as comprehensive as possible. So we've all of our contributors have spent a lot of time making sure that what's on the site now is as good as it can be. And as we add more articles, we make sure that they're reviewed and that they're at the same high quality. We've also added how many people have contributed to Marspedia. So over the last, you know, since 2007, almost 14 years now, we have 188 people that have logged in and edited Marspedia, contributed content directly. And that's up 24 more since the last conference. Now, not all of those people are active all the time. We do have some people that are quite active, but that's a count of how many people have ever contributed to the site. And then finally, we have images and we have other graphic or other documents such as PDFs. And so we can actually store documents in or store graphics and binary files like PDFs in Marspedia as an upload. And so we have almost 1,500 of those. Now, one thing we're going to talk about today, and it's also being covered at other talks at the conference, is the Mars Atlas. And we're very proud of the Mars Atlas because we feel like it's the best of class resource on the internet now for browsing through Mars and all the geological survey feature names. Mars is organized by the US Geological Survey into quadrangles. And so we've created a page for every quadrangle that describes what are the key large features on it or important features on that part of Mars. And then you can read all about those and click down into a lot of them as well. And so, Frank will talk a little bit about that in a future slide. But we're really proud of the Mars Atlas. If you compare our atlas with something like Google Mars, ours is just more modern and more comprehensive and has pretty much the same features as Google Mars does, which is pretty impressive to say for a team of volunteers. And we also have gotten a lot of contributions from people that that wanted to give us content and keep it tagged with Creative Commons. And so Frank will talk about that as well. One of our key contributors, Nicole, gave us some encyclopedia quality articles this year to add to the ones that she'd given us previously. There's a couple ways that we're using Marspedia in the last year that are new. We're trying to create a comprehensive archive of all of our conventions for the Mars Society. So Frank did a lot of work to find all the abstract books and all the covers for them and all the convention posters. And we put those all up on a page in Marspedia so that everyone could review what all the Mars Society sort of history is of all of our conventions. And then, as I mentioned, we're also using it for storage of working documents. We're using it for different projects that are happening across the space advocacy community. We encourage people to reach out to us to set up an area. It's called a namespace, and they can use that however they want. And it's segregated from the rest of the article space, the main article space. So you can kind of use it as a private area of Marspedia to store documents, and you'll be able to take advantage of all the functionality that Marspedia has for editing content and searching content. And then another thing Frank's going to talk about today is our tutorial. He spent a lot of time on this to make it easy for new folks, new volunteers to learn how to use Marspedia. Next slide. So we wanted to give a shout out to our major contributors this year. So in addition to Frank and I, Jim Sikoski took the lead on the Mars Atlas, and then Michelle also helped out a lot. Jim will actually be presenting a talk on the Atlas tomorrow in one of the tracks. And he also has a talk in this track today at 5:30 to talk about just in general how he likes to browse Mars images. So I definitely recommend you check out his 2 talks. And then finally, Nicole Willette. Nicole's one of our steering committee members at the Mars Society. She's a science teacher. Up until recently, she was education director of the Mars Society, and she's given us a lot of new content that she's worked on, as well as some updates to our teacher page that we have, which I still need to do a little bit of work on to get all of her contributions out there, but Nicole's done a fantastic job of contributing content, and we really thank her for that. So how you can help, it's easy to request an account, and we grant those out as soon as you request them, within a day or two. If you're not getting it fast enough, just send me an email. My email is webmaster@marssociety.org. And once you have your free account with Marspedia, you have full access to create new documents, create new articles, upload files, and edit existing articles. We also have a volunteer call that we do every week. It's on Mondays at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 3 p.m. Pacific. And we've been doing that call now for 3 years. And so it's always fun to see who pops on that call and who we get to talk to about Marspedia and how they might be able to help us. And also, we encourage everyone to tell their colleagues, their folks that work in the education field about Marspedia. And it's a great outreach tool, and we want to get more people using it and more people contributing to it. If you want to get started, you don't have to wait for us. You don't have to join our weekly call. We have a page called the Needed Articles List. You can just look on that page, look down the page for something that you're interested in and start working on it. And if you submit an article, we'll review it. You also can submit content that you've written elsewhere. As long as it is your content, you will retain your own copyright of it. But by giving it to us, you're sharing it with this community, and the version that's on Marspedia will be public domain. Now, if you want us to tag it with some type of license like Creative Commons, we are willing to do that. It's not usually what we do for most of our content, but in some cases we're happy, we've done that, and we're happy to do that for you as well. And the key there would be you're going to keep your attribution on that content no matter what. So if 10 years from now or 50 years from now somebody uses your article, if you have a Creative Commons attribution license on it, then they have to keep your name on it, on that article. So the reason we don't have the whole site that way is we do want to have a lot of public domain content that people can freely use. But we recognize that some people, if they spend hours writing an article, they want their name to be on it forever sometimes, and we're happy to accommodate that. And then finally, help us find experts to write articles. We have something called an expert article, And we, encourage people that work in the scientific community to contribute content that will tag with that. So help us find people that are interested in contributing to our wiki that are experts in their field. And with that, I will turn it over to Frank for the rest of the presentation.
So James mentioned a shout out to 3 of our volunteers, and I just wanted to give you a quick view of what they were working on. And after this is done, I'll give you a short video walkthrough of how to get to these various elements of Marspedia. Michelle basically took us in a slightly different direction in terms of how to lay out an atlas online. And he established the use of the quadrangle versions of the atlas that also allow, in this particular high-level view, your ability to scroll over certain sites on the Martian landscape and see their names. You can also go to the details on the quadrangles, which I'll demonstrate here in a few minutes. Jim Sakasi has been, for several years now, contributing to this conference and capturing the graphics that exist on NASA sites, University of Arizona sites, to provide, I'll call it a public level discussion of the geography and geology of Mars. This is an example. This is an example from a paper that only appeared back in January of this year. And I think it's one of the most exciting discoveries on Mars in the last several years. Ice, 1 inch below the surface or a meter below the surface, but down to latitudes of 30 degrees, which nobody expected over the last 2 decades. So this is a great discovery that influences so much of where on Mars humans eventually will go. James mentioned Nicole's contributions in the past. She's been involved with a number of education-related activities and has written in a style that I'll say is more encyclopedic. It's at a level that grade school children, high schoolers can understand and put to use, and maybe it's the first step in really delving down into the details of a particular, in this case, NASA activity. So what I want to do is to give you a short demo of how you get through the layers that exist in Marspedia, and then focus a little bit on what I call the ease of the visual editor in order for you to upload your graphics, your documents into elements of a table, for example, so that it is stored in either a semi-private space or public space for others to see. Maybe they're just others on your own team to see, but you have that choice. So let's see if I can get this thing to cooperate with me. Good, all right. It's on a video. I'm going to show you, first of all, where the atlas is. You see it's at the high level homepage. There's the map that Michelle developed, and you can drill down to the individual areas, the quadrangle of Syrtis Major, and potential landing site of our next rover on Mars. Nicole's article on the Mars Perseverance rover is located here off the main page as a representative article of what's come in recently. We have that feature on the main page. Now I want to show you a little bit about the categories that we've chosen, the category hierarchy. This will, as James mentioned, there's a high level. Oh. All right, try that again. There's a high level set of categories. You see Roman numeraled. And then below that is the detail set, basically a 3-level outline that includes all of the topics, both current knowledge as well as future plans and directions. So we'll let that run. Now for you, if you're going in to find a particular topic, I'd recommend the category tree that you get to right from the main page. We're going to drill down from people and organizations to the Mars Society and look at the table that we've created that shows all the information on the 22 Mars conventions that have taken place since its founding. We'll go down to a particular location here. This is the front cover and the poster related to this session in Oregon. And if you've got an ability to read PDFs in your browser, you can do that as we're doing here, or you can download the file that gives you the information on the schedule for each of the years that the conference has taken place. So again, we're looking for other uses of this concept of Marspedia as an archive. Now we'll take you to the tutorials. Again, they're located right here on the main page. We have what amounts to an introduction to Marspedia, tutorial on how to get an account on Marspedia, a tutorial on using the visual editor, and also how to become a reviewer or contributor to the organization. I'll let that run, and we'll go into the visual editor tutorial, which actually has a sandbox, as we call it. It's a page which has all these various features that you can do with the visual editor, and allows you to practice and make as many mistakes as you want, because once you leave, it's all wiped out and you're starting over again. These are the commands that you'll see, very much like WordPress. You have control over the paragraphing, the fonts. You can establish links that go directly into your article. You can insert numbered lists, add images and tables to your document. There are even special set of characters which are allowed. You have a help file, all in the menu bar. And then advanced features such as adding categories to your particular article. What we're going to demonstrate here is the ability to add a table to a particular location. You basically place your cursor, say add table, and you get a very simple table to begin with, but it allows you to grow it. Using the carrots that exist, you can add or delete a row, column. You can use the properties box to make this a sortable table or collapsible table. So some pretty sophisticated features built into that one simple menu bar. So that's basically where we've gone today. You can see that we've covered information regarding how to get to specialized articles. We tend to focus on a special article on the main page to let you know what's new. We have the Mars Atlas available. We have the ability to do Mars tutorials. And I wanted to point out this box up here in the corner that says guest right now. If you click on that, you can order or ask for an account to be opened in your name. That's the place to go. Although that's explained in the tutorials as well. So with that, I'm just going to jump to the next page, which is questions and answers.
So there's a couple questions in the chat. The first one from Anara, and you may not have heard the earliest part of my talk. You're asking, do you need volunteers for the site? Yeah, we definitely see this as a volunteer project. And as many folks that want to help out with this, the more the merrier, because it's such a big project. You know, we're capturing all this information about Mars and improving it. and then just building it out as an archive for lots of different ways. So if you want to volunteer on it and you don't know what to do, just join our call. It's every week. There's a link to the call in Marspedia. If you go into the editorial subcommittee page on the linked off of the main page, it's a Zoom call. We've actually been doing that Zoom call for 3 years. So yeah, we'd love to have your help. And then comment from Fernando. Fernando, have you explored technical issues of maintaining synchronized data between servers on Earth and Mars, especially when editing? You'll have delays of several minutes in order to save. That's a good point. We're not really doing that, synchronizing data between Earth and Mars or simulating that. There's definitely other projects the Mars Society does to simulate like real-time chat between Earth and Mars with that built-in delay of 9 minutes or more, but we're not really doing that. And yeah, we have thought about at the Mars Society, not really part of this project, we have thought about maintaining synchronized data between Earth and Mars. So we've done some experiments out at MDRS about that. And then comment from Anar, with more people homeschooling now than ever, this would be an excellent resource to market to parents and educators. Yes, and we could use your help with that. Get the word out about this resource.
If I could comment on that one, about a year ago, a very sophisticated Mars Atlas came out as a book. I actually have a Kindle version of it. However, it's fixed in terms of the information that's available to what was placed in that book a year ago, whereas the atlas that we have on Marspedia can be brought up to date and kept up to date. I think that's a major advantage of what we provide as an encyclopedia of Mars.
And then Anara says, she runs Galaxis. Yep, that's great. And she'll tell us about it. Are there any questions on the audience? Feel free, if there's a question, you can go ahead and unmute and ask it. Looks like we got about 2 minutes left in our time.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions or even comments that people would like to make? Go ahead and unmute.
I have just a comment. I think it's an amazing resource. I didn't know about it until now. So I think this is one of my bigger takeaways tonight from this conference, is finding out about your resource. And I'll start sharing it tomorrow for sure.
Oh, that's great to hear, Inara. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we like to do this conference session every year is to tell more people about this.
I think I've probably seen something pulled from your site, but I didn't realize it was all in one place. That's pretty amazing.
And then Ron asks in the chat, do we have food-related topics? We actually have topics about a lot. I mean, general information about a lot of things. A lot of chemistry concepts are in Marspedia as well. But yes, we do have food-related topics. And feel free to help us add more.
And I would like to point out that although we're talking about Marspedia here, there are food-related talks that exist on the Mars Society's YouTube channel, and a number of papers related to agriculture on Mars in general that have been added to the Mars Papers archives, which include either presentations or papers on various topics.
Yeah, so Frank and I, in addition to working on Marspedia, he mentioned our YouTube channel, which I maintain. We have over 1,000 videos now. All of our conference talks this year will be up there. All of the ones from last year and the last, I believe, 9 years, 9 conferences have been uploaded there. So it's a great archive of video. You can learn about all kinds of different things on our YouTube channel. We have over almost 12,000 subscribers. We're about to hit that. And then Frank, before he worked on Marspedia, he was gathering all of our conference papers every year, and we put them up on a site called marspapers.org. And so that's kind of the official Mars Society paper archive. And now what we've trying to do with all 3 of these resources is integrate them. So we'll have the Marspedia categories used on YouTube, and we'll have the Mars Papers links used on Marspedia sometimes. So, you know, if there's ways we can tie these 3 resources together, we try to do that. Okay, it looks like we're over time, so I'd like to thank everybody, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference, but thanks for coming to our talk. Bye-bye, signing off.